unless you have the floor. You'll be able to unmute your microphone to speak. And Valerie, go ahead and start recording.
It's on.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the March 24th, 2021 meeting of the Oak Grove Community Council. My name is Joseph Edge. I'm the chair, and I will be taking us through the meeting tonight. We have a relatively full program, and so we'll just go ahead and get into our introductions. And the first thing we'll do is have our officers introduce themselves and our board of directors who were elected at the last meeting. So I'm going to unshare just really briefly so that we can see faces. And I'll start with our vice chair, Valerie Chapman. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Valerie Chapman, and I am the vice chair of the council. And I live on Evergreen, about a block from the trolley trail.
Thank you. Jane, could you introduce yourself? Oh, you're muted.
Hello, that's better. My name is Jane Civiletti. I am the treasurer of the Community Council, and I live at the intersection of Oak Grove Boulevard and Fair Oaks Avenue.
Thanks, Jane. Rich, could you introduce yourself?
I could. My name is Rich Nippon, and I am a general board member of the Oak Grove Community Council. I live 3 blocks due south of the Oak Grove Fred Meyers.
Thank you. And Mark, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Mark Elliott, and I am a new board member here just for the first time. So I was just elected here in February. And I currently live off of Concord Road, just a couple of blocks from the trolley trail.
Thank you. And our other board member at large is not here tonight, but that's, excuse me, that's Jan Lindstrom, who was our prior secretary. And as this implies, we don't have a secretary right now. So could that be you? Let us know if you're interested in volunteering for that role. And so moving on here, the first thing we'll do is our officer reports, which will be Jane with the attendance and treasury updates.
I will be doing attendance this evening, and I don't have the treasury update right in front of me. I can get it briefly. Can you hear me? I think someone
yes.
had a question with my volume. But it is exactly the same as it was last month and the month before that. We have again had no money in, no money out. Things are status quo. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I guess what we'll do now is before we jump into our featured local business, we'll go ahead and ask everybody to introduce themselves, which is really helpful for our attendance records. So please say your first and last name and the street of your home address, and not your house number, but just the street name. And if Jane has any questions about attendance, she might reach out to you later in the meeting. So I'll just go down the list and ask you to unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and then mute yourself when you're done. So at the top of the list here, we have Kathy. And I don't see Kathy anymore. So I have a 659-6652.
That's me, Joseph. It's Carol Powers on Briggs.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Baldwin.
I live on Neff Road, about 3 doors away from Springfield Park.
Thank you. And Joan Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Joan Hamilton. I used to live on River Forest Lane, but I am now joining you folks as a guest. I live in Selwood now, so I am unable, sadly, to be part of the Oak Grove Community Council, but I am so, my heart is there with you.
Thanks, Joan. It's good to see you again. Otis Q, please introduce yourself.
My name is Otis Quattlebaum, and I live on Oak Grove Boulevard. And this is my first Zoom meeting. I had attended some of the other meetings a few years back, but this is my first Zoom meeting.
Well, it's nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Bob, could you introduce yourself and just the name of the street you live on, please? Bob Bohannon.
Sorry.
We'll come back. Oh, there you are.
Got me smarter than the phone, so that leaves me out. So Bob Bohannon, I live on Southeast Laurie.
Thanks, Bob. It's good to see you again. Christina R., could you introduce yourself?
I'm Christina, and I live on River Forest Road.
Thanks for joining us.
Excuse me, Christina, I didn't catch your last name.
Roberti.
Roberti. Okay, thank you.
And Danielle Lohman.
Hello, Danielle Lohman, as you mentioned, and I live on 21st towards River Road.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Dave and Jan.
Dave Doback, Jan Doback, we live at Rose Villa.
And Eleanor.
Hi, Eleanor Hunter. I live on Southeast Laurie, just a couple blocks down from Bob Bohannon.
Good to see you tonight, Eleanor. Elvis Clark, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Elvis Clark. I live in Milwaukee, and so I'm just a guest.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Fred, could you introduce yourself?
Fred Sawyer. I live on Linden Lane.
Thanks, Fred. Gene, could you introduce yourself?
Gene Fifield. I live on Courtney, just a little bit west of or east of River Road.
Welcome, Gene. Gwian, could you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Mark Miller, but I go by Gwian. I live on Evergreen Street, close to the trolley trail and the Mac station.
Good to see you. James Troy-Kurth.
I'm Troy Kurth, and I live on Chestnut Street.
Jason.
Hey, how's it going? I live on Overlook Lane.
Welcome. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to be back.
Good. Janine, could you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Janine. I live on Chestnut Street with Troy.
And let's see, Karen, could you introduce yourself? Okay, we might reach back out to you in a few minutes. Kathy, could you introduce yourself, please? Okay, we'll come back to you. Kay Weaver, please introduce yourself.
I'm Kay Weaver, and I'm one of the presenters tonight. I live in Jenny's Lodge and have lots of friends in Oak Grove. Happy to be here.
Good, it's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Linda Seals.
I'm Linda Seals, and I live on the south side of Oak Grove Boulevard on Woodland Way.
Thank you. Mark Knudsen.
Mark Knutson. I live on Cottonwood Court, just off of Hill Road near View Acres.
Thank you. And Pam.
I'm Pam Horan. I live at Rose Villa.
Welcome. Next up is Paul Savas.
Paul Savas, Kronberg Avenue. I am juggling 2 meetings tonight, so if I seem distracted, I am.
Sydney's iPhone. Could you please introduce yourself? Okay, we'll have Jane come back to you. Sue.
Sue Conahan, Parkview Circle.
Thanks for joining us. And Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Casuto. I live down at the bottom of Oak Grove Boulevard, kind of kitty corner to the old boat ramp.
Thanks for joining us. Thelma, please introduce yourself.
Thelma Hagan Miller. I live on Westview Avenue, just south of Concord.
And Sarah Kay, could you please introduce yourself? Okay, so looks like there's a few people on the list, Jane, that you might need to reach out to get registered with our attendance, but we'll move ahead. And we are expecting a featured local business presenter to introduce themselves tonight. And we might let her jump in if she when she shows up, because she's actually running her business tonight and is going to join us for the Zoom meeting to introduce herself. But you know, we know how that can be a little bit unpredictable sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our main presenters, which for tonight, which is going to be Kay Weaver and Susan Casuto with the Rivers East Village update.
Well,
I'll actually just stop sharing this for a moment so you can introduce yourselves.
as I said earlier, I'm Kay Weaver. I'm with Rivers East Village, and my colleague is Susan Casuto. Wave your hand, Susan.
Hi, me again.
We are representatives of Rivers East Village, which is a local nonprofit organization, one of 11 in the metro area, 11 villages. Rivers East Village is a village of volunteers. We help our neighbors navigate the opportunities and the challenges of living longer in their homes. And we're not a place, we're a virtual organization with about 30 volunteers. We're not a retirement complex, as lovely as Rose Villa and some others are. We bring together people with moderate needs. We call them members, with people who are able to assist, and we call them volunteers. One reason we're here is that we have more volunteers and members who come from the Oak Grove community than any other. Yours is already a vibrant community and generous, where folks looked after each other. And we think you will understand what we're trying to do, and hope that you will give us some moral support, if not other kinds.
Some of you might remember us from having presented before at the community council. Last time we were here, we were still in the planning stages, just getting organized. Well, we launched March 7th, 2020, with a big party at Rose Villa, and then COVID hit and we had to shut it down. So despite limitations, in this past year, we found ways to continue to help our members, including phone calls. Everything was COVID friendly. We even had transportation for members who are willing to accept rides with COVID practices in place. We in fact brought on 21 new members over the course of this past year. And I'll go over in a minute some of the services we did provide for them. In fact, it sparked a new service calling folks who wanted calls to not feel isolated, as everybody got so increasingly isolated with the virus out and about. So they were able to be checked in with, and we let them know that they're not alone. Now we have a chart that hopefully Valerie or Joseph will share, just showing you some of the things that we have been able to do in this past year. Okay, so here you can see we've been able to provide 46 different home maintenance and repair services to people. Now, this again is to keep people in their homes and not have to go to an assisted living facility and stay where they're familiar. Maybe they don't have families right nearby, or they don't have family and friends that are able to do these things for them. But for example, some of these home maintenance requests were to move heavy potted plants, replace window screens, replace ceiling light bulbs so they don't have to get on a ladder, work on outdoor pathways, window washing, that kind of thing. Then gardening, we don't provide a regular service, but we're more than happy to come out and spend a couple hours pruning some bushes or taking care of something that you need done that is just getting to be a little too hard. We've only done 15 requests for driving. Again, that was kind of the most iffy situation where you'd be in a close environment, even with the windows open. But we were able to take people to their doctor or dental appointments. So we were able to be helpful there. Tech support, including teaching folks how to use their cell phone, and especially how to get on Zoom if they weren't already familiar with it. We did a lot of pickup and delivery of groceries and meds, and a couple of times we're able to be advocates for members, work on their behalf with another organization.
Recently, the advocacy we've been doing is trying to help some of the older folks who aren't familiar with systems to sign up for their vaccination.
Right. So now if we could move down the screen a bit, and I'm just gonna, I don't know how to do that. Okay, so moving down the screen, you can see some of the online services that we've developed, since so much wasn't able to happen personally face-to-face this past year. We have a coffee hour, which we do every month, and you start to recognize people and get friendly. You start to meet new people, develop new social networks, talk about things that you might not otherwise be talking about, so just expanding your life more as a member. Virtual happy hour with whatever beverage you want, a little bit later in the day, same thing. We've walked outside together, done front porch socials. We've done some Zoom programs, how to negotiate feelings of loneliness during COVID. Just a bunch, you can read what's down there. I don't know if you've got questions about some of them. So all the ones on the left were originated with Rivers East Village. And as part of a complex of 11 villages, we shared programming during this year, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that, as well as using TED Talks, AARP, a variety of other organizations that we are partnering with to provide more. So we've had travel logs, with everybody cooped up in their house. There were a couple nights that we saw somebody's travel log of Iceland with loads of pictures, movies, a session on decluttering and organizing your house, yoga suitable for seniors, TED Talks. You can see cooking lessons, recycling. So this is what we've been doing, and we're looking for more volunteers, members, and just people to spread the word about who we are. We've got all our contact information up here, the office number, my phone number, and Kay's. You can see that to do this, as we're a membership organization, the member can join at a full level where you have 12 services per month, And these have all been examples, not the programming, that's all free to members, but everything above that we did. 12 services a month or a flex membership, which, and the full and the flex can be shared by household. So if it's 2 people, domestic partners or a couple or, close roommates, whatever, they can share these services. Flex membership, $240 a year for 4 services a month. And insurance, meaning if you have a medical situation arise, we upgrade you for free to the 12 services a month for 90 days. And we do provide subsidies for low income based on the federal poverty guidelines. These can be paid with one shot, like once a year, or we even have monthly plans.
For new members who are just coming on, we've been running a special where we offer 15 months instead of 12 for the same price as a step forward to try to help make up for what we weren't able to do during our lockdown year. So, and we're asking your help again. We asked it once before to identify people who might need our help, whether they can afford it or not. We have funds to help subsidize memberships based on income, and we have vetted volunteers to respond to needs. We have trained drivers, and the more people that hear about our worthy project, the more likely that word will reach seniors who need caring neighbors. We're happy to answer questions, and I think, Joseph, you could take the shared screen down now. Thank you. Are there questions?
No.
Well, hey, I guess I do have one question.
Yes.
Do you have any idea when you might be able to start doing more services that you would hope to do?
We aren't really sure how soon. Many of our people have become vaccinated with both of theirs. We aren't sure how soon we'll be able to go in a house and vacuum or scrub the floor. But some other things like the tech help and gardening. Sometimes we even have a whole team of people who go and do a major cleanup. Those kinds of things we are happy to do. And as you saw, even during COVID, we did a fair amount of emergency repairs. When something is leaking into the sink and running out onto the floor, we put on our masks and go help.
I think too, it's going to depend mostly on the Oregon Health Authority, because we've already been able to drive people who were willing, So I think at this point, so long as we can conform to the Oregon Health guidelines, which would make a lot of those services very doable at this point with, people can be together if they're both vaccinated, or everybody's vaccinated, plus one household that is not of your household if you're vaccinated. So there are a lot of things that we can already be doing. And again, this is why before March 31st, that's like our last day to sign up with a 15-month membership for the same price, because there are some things are going to still lag. It's just taking a little while to kick in 100%. We're very excited. It's like we finally will get to be the organization that we envisioned.
So we asked her.
Eleanor, I was just going to say, Eleanor has her hand raised.
I do actually. I have a couple of questions. One, is there an age limit or starting point? Is there an age requirement or?
We look for people over 55 and also those who are younger and have some disability.
Mm-hmm. Great, lovely, thank you. And I'm just thinking, I know that New Urban High School, and I think Rex Putnam as well, perhaps, but I know New Urban has a social service requirement. as part of their curriculum and for graduation. And I wondered, do you have connections with Rex Putnam to work with some of the students there as a possibility for them being able to volunteer or help do things?
I hadn't thought about Rex Putnam, but one of my colleagues and I visited the principal at Milwaukee High School
Mhm.
and talked to her about it, but it was right where they were getting ready to move into their new building, and it was like too much.
Right, right. And
But you're right to remind us to try that again.
just to try, and I know New Urban is going under construction, stuff like that, but I just know, having worked with some of the seniors there, that's one of their requirements. And it just sounds like a perfect kind of thing for in the neighborhood and, you know, what's happening, just as a thought. Yeah.
One of the Portland villages
Mhm.
got a group from the tech committee or the tech organization at the high school to come and meet in an area where they had a group of computers and help people learn how to make it work. And the elders loved the kids with them. So you're right.
Yeah, no, that's really great. So you said that you're one of 11 organizations, or one of 11? Yeah.
And
It ranges around the Portland area, from North Portland. We actually even have Manzanita. That was the most recent one, which is kind of a stretch, you know, but both sides of the river.
So is this a national model, or is this an Oregon homegrown thing, or?
The model was developed in 2001 in Boston.
Mhm.
Beacon Hill, if you can imagine, you would think they could hire whatever they needed, but in a big snowstorm, they were reminded how much they need each other. And they formed the first organization, and now there are 350 across the United States.
Terrific, terrific. Thank you both so much for what you're doing. It's such a great idea. It's wonderful. So look forward to hearing more about it and maybe participating. Who knows? But
Hey, thanks, Eleanor.
yay on you guys. Thanks so much.
Well, I've shared, I can't figure out how to share in the chat with everyone now. My options are just the co-host. So I've sent Valerie our contact information again. And if you have a way to put it out to everyone on chat, that would be great. Then feel free.
We can do that. We can also send it out in our follow-up email.
Great. And please feel free to call Kay or me personally, or leave a message at the office number if you have questions later. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for your hospitality.
And I just had one more question. How could volunteers go about, you know, what are the volunteer requirements, and how do we go about recruiting, helping you recruit additional volunteers from within the community?
Volunteers can contact us at the phone number that we've just sent to Valerie. And
can you say it out loud, please? Can you get the phone number out loud?
Yes, the office number is 971-808-2340. And you might not get through directly, but you'll get called back. Otherwise, for example, mine is 503-999-3099.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I kept trying to chime in. I guess you guys couldn't hear me. This is Sarah Quay, and I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. I love it, love it. I'm actually really sorry that I've never heard of the organization until tonight's call. Is there any kind of plan for, I don't know, marketing, or how do you spread the word to get other people involved? And then the second part of that question for me is that I am in the tech industry and I work on Zoom all the time, and I have an older mother who I've tried to help get vaccinated, and I understand the frustrations and the struggles of like registering. Somebody who wants to volunteer and get involved with your organization, what would you be looking for, and what are you asking for? Like, what do you guys need?
It's really attractive, I think, to people to volunteer with our organization. We of course do background checks on all the volunteers, and we provide some training and orientation. But one of the best things about the way our computer system works is that if, say, Richard called up and wanted to have someone come and help in the yard, the word goes out on the computer to all the people who have said that they're available to be volunteers in the yard. And when one of them picks it up, then the others are off the hook. So that means that the volunteering can be done on your own time. If you're busy that day, and then someone else will take that day. And if a driver is needed, and we go door to door with the drivers, if one is available that day, then the others can take another day.
May I ask 2 more questions?
Sure.
Can you please tell me, I'm so sorry, what is the name of the organization again?
Rivers East Village. And our geographic,
Okay.
it's the 2 rivers. It's the Clackamas River on the south, the Willamette on the west, the city of Milwaukee to the north, and then 205 go all the way out to 205. So we're the 2 rivers, Rivers East Village.
Okay. This is great. I think what you guys are doing is amazing. I literally have been trying to help my mother. I mean, I'm very proud that this is happening in Oak Grove. I just wish that there was a different way, and I maybe it's just me, but I'm not aware of how it's getting publicized. Like, how is the word getting out there? Is it just truly word of mouth?
Well, clearly,
I want to do everything I can to be a volunteer and get this word out there, because I feel like you guys should have a lot of not only volunteers, but also people who probably are in need of your assistance.
We really can use the marketing help. You know, that's the one area that I think we are lacking in. We can do all the work that needs to be done, but marketing wise, you can see, as so few people have heard of us, we could use somebody to volunteer to help us get the word out, in fact.
Yeah.
Sarah, we, you know, when we could, we would go to the farmer's market, to the Trolley Trail Fest, to you know, areas like that, and set up our tent and talk to people who come around and get them to sign up just to be on our mailing list and learn more. We have about 310 people on our mailing list, and we publish a newsletter every week. And those are people who said they're interested. They haven't said, you know, that they want to be a volunteer or they want to be a member, but they're interested. And so we consider that moral support.
That's great. I definitely want to get involved. So I will be figuring out how to definitely quickly get in contact with you guys.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I think we've taken up our time, Joseph, so I appreciate your
Oh, we've got time. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to give someone a last chance to ask you guys a question before you take off. But so kind of last call on questions for Kay and Susan. Okay, great. Well, I guess we'll let you go. So thanks again. It was great to have you join us, and you know, we remember seeing you a couple years ago. We're glad to have you back and see that things are moving ahead. So like I said, we'll include your contact information in our follow-up email newsletter, and you know, we'll try to help you get the word out.
And with your permission, I'm going to stick around because I want to hear about the Oak Lodge governance project.
Oh yeah, you are all more than welcome to stay as long as you'd like. So thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. And so with that, I will, actually first I wanted to check with Jane. Has there been any sight of our featured local business contact?
There has not been, Joseph. I've been looking. Her name is Julie Allen, and they're operating the new Milwaukee Pizza Company, which is opened on McLaughlin Boulevard, just south of the Elks Club. But apparently they're having a very busy pizza night, or she had trouble logging in from the site there. So I have not seen her, but while I'm on the line, I can give you the treasurer report again for the record. So we have—
Oh, sure, go for it.
Our sum. We are still and currently at $1,712.38.
Awesome, thanks, Jane. And so with that, I'm going to jump in here really quick and advance us forward a page. And yeah, so now it's the Oak Lodge Governance Project update. I'll stop sharing now and turn it over to Eleanor Hunter, who is here representing the steering committee from Oak Lodge Governance Project. So Eleanor, take it away.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm assuming that some of you on this Zoom meeting are familiar with the Governance Project and some of you may not be. So I'm just letting everyone know there are 10 people on the steering committee. We're all volunteers from the Oak Grove and Jennings Lodge area, motivated by different reasons to want to understand what the realities would be to have a different level of governance in this area. So we applied and got a $100,000 grant from Metro that was awarded to us, and that is going to fund an economic and governance research study that will be done probably by the end of the summer in August. And that study has 3 different components to it. So when the issue of incorporation has come up in the past, the first question that comes up is, how much is it going to cost me? So part of this grant is really to try to answer that question to the best of our abilities. So for $100,000, you can get a lot of information, but not all the information that we would love to have. But this grant will provide us with a study that will give us 3 different scenarios. One of them is having everything just remain the same and look at what are the taxes that we pay and what are the services that we receive for those taxes. A second scenario is that the area would annex into the city of Milwaukee. And the third scenario is that the area would incorporate at the same service level that Milwaukee currently has. And one of the reasons we're doing that is so that we can really compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, so that we can have some real accuracy in the information. It's also much easier if we have the whole number and then you can extrapolate, you can take levels out. It's easier to subtract things than it is to add them back in. So again, none of this is what's going to happen. This is just a study to find out what might happen, or if this happened, what would it be like? What would it cost? We're exploring things. We don't have any answers. We're wanting to find things out. We're wanting to find out data-based, factual information of what would happen. We're wanting to look at what would the return on investment be? What are the taxes we currently pay? What are the fees that we don't have coming into the area? So it's complicated. There's a lot of different factors to it. There's been a lot of thought that's gone into what are the questions that we're looking for and how we're answering them. So between now and August, we're looking to help other people in the area learn more about what's going on and what's the current type of governance we have. How did that come about? So last month on March 13th, we had a first of our information sessions. A fellow named Dan Vizzini came and spoke to us. And next month on April 10th, Dave Hunt, who many of you may be familiar with, he used to be the state representative for this area, former Speaker of the House of Representatives for the state of Oregon. He'll be presenting to us on some of the funding differences between the state and counties, for state and county funding for unincorporated and incorporated urban areas. So we're looking to have a different information session every month and to provide background for most of us to understand where we are, how did we get to where we are now, and how we might move forward. So happy to answer any questions that people have. And if there's anything else you might want to know.
Fred, I see you raised your hand.
Is the meeting with is that available on YouTube or something?
The meeting from Dan Vizzini was recorded and it's on YouTube, and we're going to be sending that out to people who are on our contact list. And Dave Hunt's meeting will be recorded as well. We're still waiting on our website. They'll be posted on our website for everyone. If anyone wants to get on the contact list, you can email us at oaklodgegovernance@gmail.com. Did that answer your question, Fred? Yeah, okay. Kathy, you have your hand up.
I think you can hear me, can you?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm interested in what the demographics are of the area of Oak Lodge, meaning what is the average age? You know, how many families do we have? How many youth? And then seniors. Also, what are your boundaries? How far east do you go with this? And then I can imagine you're going to the Milwaukee city limits and then down to Gladstone, I would assume, the Jennings Road or something. But how far east are you going? And then the demographics. Those are my two questions.
Great, thank you. Well, for the first one, for the demographics, I'm just as interested in all of that as you are. One of the tricky things about this area is getting clear demographic information, because this area, it's not one voting district, it's not one zip code, it's not one school district, it's all these different things all together. So the demographics, that's a fascinating question. And I'm also interested in how the demographics changed over the past 5-10 years. So we're looking for that information as well. And in terms of the map, you're exactly right that it's Milwaukee, the Milwaukee city limits to the north, the river to the west, Gladstone city limits to the south. And then for this particular project, we're going just along Aldercrest and the ridge. Help me out here, Joseph. We're wanting to, you know more about this.
I think it's specifically, it's the Oak Lodge sanitary district boundaries, not the water district, which I think is a little, and I know that they've merged but there's still two different district boundaries depending on the water service and the sanitary service district area. And so I think it's the larger of the two, because it actually does include some of the Clackamas River water district, you know, to the east. So it's basically what the boundary definition, it traces Milwaukee's urban growth management area, which is the area that Milwaukee is contractually obligated to provide urban services for, even though it's not all incorporated into Milwaukee. So it's a little tricky, but it roughly aligns with the old sanitary district's service boundaries.
And our website, which is being created right now, will have a map on it that will show very clearly where the boundaries of this particular study are. So if you want to put your address in, you can see. But again, if you're in part of the study area, it's just a study area. Nothing happens to change anything in this area. That would take a very different thing. It would be a campaign. It would be a vote of people. That's not where we are at all. This is just the research study. So we're just looking to get information to answer some of the basic fundamental questions that people in this area have been asking for decades. Does that answer your question, Kathy?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure. Anyone else?
I just had a question for Kathy. I've been trying to get her last name so I can enter her onto the roll.
Okay, my last name is Nidek. Can you spell it? N as in Nancy, A as in Alice, J as in John, D as in dog, E as in Eric, K as in Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate that. Mark, I see you have your hand raised.
Hey, Mark.
Just a quick question, Eleanor, can you repeat the date of the Dave Hunt presentation?
Sure, it's going to be April 10th. Again at noon. It's the second Saturday of the month. And I know that you're on our contact list, and so you'll get a notice. And actually, I've just been writing something up to go put in the Clackamas Review as well. So, yeah.
Super. Thank you.
But we're hoping to have
And what
presentation on the second Saturday of the month. So, yeah.
And what was the website again?
Oh, the website, we don't have it yet. It's not up and running yet.
Oh.
So, but that I'll be thrilled to share it when it is. But right now, you can email us at oaklodgegovernance@gmail.com to be put on our contact list and be notified of any events that we have going on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Sarah, for the role, can I get your location where you live?
Yeah, I'm off of River Road, just north of Meldrum Bar.
So you are in Oak Grove or Jennings Lodge?
Jennings Lodge.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Susan.
Hey, hi, Susan.
Hi. Do you have any projected date as to when this first grant will be terminated and concluded? There'll be a summary of information from it?
The hope is that the grant will be, or the research study will be released by the end of the summer, probably by the end of August.
Okay.
All of the grant is going into the research study. There's no funding for public engagement or anything like that. That's completely on us. So we're sort of getting our gears going now by doing these, various talks and things like that. But the real public engagement part will happen after we have the research study to say, wow, what would it cost? And what about this? And what does it look like? And then there'll be all sorts of sort of integration and sifting of that information, because there'll be basic stuff. But Echo Northwest has been working with us wonderfully about how much information can we get for that $100,000, so we can extrapolate things out and say, well, what if one area might want to annex into Milwaukee and one area might want to incorporate, or one area might want to stay the same? It's all up for the people and what happens, but how do we make decisions if we don't have some basic factual information? So we're trying to get there to satisfy everyone's curiosity. So that's where we are. Thanks for asking, Susan. Yeah. Anybody else?
Valerie?
Valerie.
Eleanor, I was wondering if you'd like to tell people what time the day hunt event.
Why, yes, as a matter of fact, that would be lovely. What a thoughtful idea. It would be at noon on Saturday, April 10th. And we'll be sending out, and again, we'll send it out to everybody on our contact list. That's what we've got if you want to find out about it. Again, it's Oak Lodge Governance, one word, @gmail.com. Thanks.
And we'll put this information into our follow-up newsletter and send that out to our email list. So if you would like to, if you're not already on our email list, just send an email to contact@oakgrovecpo.org, or you can go to our website, www.oakgrovecpo.org, and sign up there.
There'll also be an article in the Clackamas Review that will give information about Dave and his talk and the time, and we'll have the Zoom link in it as well. So, okay. Yeah, Valerie?
Valerie? You're muted.
You're muted, darling.
Yeah, there was a question asking about what is Eco Northwest. Do you know who they are?
Eco Northwest is sort of the premier economic survey group here, a professional group in the greater Portland area. So they are renowned for their neutrality and their accuracy and their completeness, is my understanding. So.
Any last call for any questions for Eleanor before we let her go?
Yeah, Joseph, I've got a stupid question. This is Carol.
Hey, Carol.
Go for it.
We've been this way since 1965. That's how long I've been here. Why now the annex to Milwaukee and the consideration to incorporate into Milwaukee?
I wouldn't say that it's a consideration for it. I would say it's more a study to find out about it. People have come up in the time that I've lived here, my understanding is about every 10 years. The idea has come up, should we incorporate, what's going on, what about this, what about that? It comes up every now and again. For me, it comes out of frustration. Like, let's try it again. This is what we've got right now is broken. We live in an urban area and we receive rural services, and our governance right now really doesn't have the capacity to deal with the urban issues. That's my personal answer. Everybody's going to have their own motivation or interest in it. Just one more little thing about Echo Northwest is that they've also done a lot of economic studies in this area. So they're very familiar with the area. And going back to the question about demographics and things like that, they've done a lot of work for the county and other entities. So this area is familiar to them. So there's a great overlap with that. So, does that answer your question?
I'd like to piggyback on your answer a little bit, Eleanor, to the previous question. One of the reasons that Milwaukee was chosen is because just like our area, citizens or taxpayers in Milwaukee are part of the Clackamas Fire District and part of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. And so Milwaukee is a closer model to what we would expect, our community would be interested in, because there's a high level of satisfaction within CPRD. There's a high level of satisfaction with the Clackamas Fire District. And so there's really no reason to change things that are working well, including, the water services district. So Milwaukee really offers a better apples to apples comparison than say Gladstone, which their tax district includes, they do their own parks, they do their own fire department, you know, they do their own police, you know, and so does Milwaukee, but, you know, so that it's just a little different, you know, what Gladstone does is more comprehensive than what Milwaukee does. And we think that Milwaukee more closely resembles how our area would look if we were to incorporate with the current service districts that are in place. So given that, it just seemed like it was a more apt comparison to be able to say, what is the cost of actually creating a new city that basically looks like Milwaukee versus joining Milwaukee that already exists and has already internalized those startup costs of, you know, doing everything new and hiring all the staff and everything. And so it's a really, really complicated budgetary thing, but we just felt like Milwaukee was more closely resembled what the community here would be looking for. And hopefully there will be future phases of study where we could look at Gladstone and how, you know, it might work if, you know, under that model, you know, but, you know, more data is better. But there was a kind of a technical reason why Milwaukee was a better choice. And so I just wanted to put that out there.
Carol,
Sarah,
Yeah, I'm just curious. I really appreciate you like kind of elaborating on the Gladstone model, but like, how does that compare to, and maybe this isn't the right realm for the question, but like, how does that compare to downtown Milwaukee, Sellwood, or Oregon City?
That would definitely be beyond the $100,000 grant that we've got.
Okay.
You know, Portland's
And the reason I'm kind of asking this is because, and the reason I'm joining tonight, I was born and raised in this town and it's been incorporated. Like you said, I was born in 77, so I get it. And the fire department has saved my father's life and has done a lot of things for my family. And I'm very proud of this town. And I just want to see some really great opportunity without having to do like regentification necessarily. But with what's going on in downtown Portland, I'm just wondering if some of these evaluations is like to bring new business and new growth to this town and like what can be done.
So Sarah,
within the, yeah.
So Sarah, when you say this town, what town are you referring to?
Milwaukee, Oak Grove.
Okay, so there's the city of Milwaukee,
McLaughlin,
right? And then
yeah, so Oak Grove
is
Oak
unincorporated,
Grove,
right? Yeah.
I would think Oak Grove. Yeah, sorry, I should say Oak Grove. So anything from like Fred Meyer's, Oak Grove Boulevard, down to about Jennings.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I see there's a lot of growth potential on McLaughlin. I don't want to see another car dealership, to be honest. Like, it would just be great. You have all these beautiful homes along the riverside and just, I don't know, I just think there's so much awesome opportunity to help.
Yes.
And I don't know if that means you have to become incorporated or you stay incorporated, but I'm just wondering what it takes to get to that level.
Sarah, if you want to sign up on Oak Lodge Governance at
I do.
we would be thrilled to give you more information, but I'm fearful that it's almost 8 o'clock and I'm thinking maybe we need to move on to the agenda, but I couldn't agree with your comments more. And there's lots of us who would not like to see any more car lots. We would like to have a higher use of the land around here. But Joseph, do we have any more time for any more questions or do we need to move on to anything else?
There was a question about the tax rates for Milwaukee and Gladstone, and I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but that is easy to access information on the Clackamas County Assessor's website. You can find the information about all the tax rates, and we'll certainly have that information as part of the study report at the end, so that we can compare what the budget would be, what the cost would be, and what that tax rate might look like.
And I think one of the key things for people to remember, to think about, is you can say like, here's the tax rate, but it's like, and what do you get for those taxes? And so that's one of the things we're trying to really tease out. I mean, we already pay for all sorts of stuff here. So what are we getting and where does it go and how does that work? And where does it happen in cities and how does it happen in unincorporated areas? These are all these different questions that we're wanting to tease apart so we can understand more what would happen, what would it look like? What would it cost? And what would we get for that cost? So it's not just the money, it's also the services, the balance between those two. So, all right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Eleanor. We look forward to having you come back in the future to provide additional updates.
Happily.
Awesome, thank you. So let's see, we're going to get to our committee updates section pretty quickly. And Jane, again, if you hear that our featured local businesses arrived, please let me know, and we'll let her jump in. So before I jump into the committee updates, one of the things that has been going on recently is that we could really use some volunteers that are interested in LUARC and the land use application reviews. Our volunteers have been stretched kind of thin lately, and so we haven't been able to keep up with things. And so I know there was a question about the subdivision up on the proposed subdivision on Oakfield, where the Mary Jane's Flower Shop was. That is under review now, and we're going to do our best to to bring that, to get information out about that and how you can participate in that and submit comments if you'd like to do so to the county. But if you are interested in helping review land use applications, and please, again, email us at contact@oakgrovecpo.org, and we'd be happy to enlist you as a volunteer to do that. And so we actually have a series of committee updates tonight. And so we'll go ahead and get started with Mark Elliott for the Concord Property and Library Planning Task Force.
All right, thank you, Joe. I thought I'd just start by just reminding folks of where the project is. And the master plan for the property was approved by the task force last year and recommended to the Board of County Commissioners. The county commissioners also approved the master plan at the early part of this year. So things have been a little bit quiet since then, but most recently there's been a lot of things happening. So a few things that have happened is that the Board of County Commissioners approved the architectural contract to complete the design of the library and the community center and park at their March 18th policy session, and official approval will take place April 1st. So that allows the design team to begin work again. So we are now expecting that the design will start this spring, and with the completion of all of the work that they need to do for construction by the winter of next year. So the next task force meeting is now being scheduled for Thursday, April 8th at 5:30. That task force meeting is a Zoom meeting that's open to the public. And meeting notes and presentation information is also published on the website for the project at clackamas.org. So construction, just a few more other things. Construction is scheduled to be completed and the library open by around the winter of 2024. So a few years left to go. Most recently, the project provided some cost information with the Board of County Commissioners on estimated costs for the project. Costs have gone up a bit. Right now, the project for the library is estimated at around $14 million and $24 million for the community center and park. So for a total project cost of approximately $38 million. And those costs are being paid by both the county and CPRD funds. Right now, task force subcommittees are being established to develop a selection of artwork that's going to go in the building, historical artifacts that are going to be displayed in the building and on the grounds, and to work with the architects and engineers on sustainable strategies to be included in the design of the project. Some news that we had recently on the project, Catherine Krieger, who is current project manager, is going to be retiring at the end of the month. So we'll have a new project manager that will be assigned by NCURP to complete the project. And also, many of you probably know that Laura Zepner, the County Business and Community Services Director, who has been overseeing the project since the beginning, will also be retiring at the end of this month. So Sarah Ekman, the Deputy Director, will be taking over Laura's duties until a replacement is hired. So that's about all I have to say, and I can answer any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions? Okay, well, we'll make sure to put it. Oh, Eleanor, there we go.
It's not so much a question. It's just, it's recognizing that the two of the main staff people will be leaving at the end of the month. And that's really quite something. I mean, Laura Zettner's been there for a long time, and Catherine Cracker, I mean, that's a big change. So I'm glad that the project is as far along as it is, so that there won't be a greater detrimental impact from the loss of the history that those two have carried for the project. So that's a big thing to come in mid-project and get up to stuff with all that. So, wow. So not so much a question, just a comment of, again, I'm so grateful for all the work that so many people have done to get it to that level. So, wow. Yeah.
Thanks, Eleanor. Susan, yeah, I see your hands up.
Yes, I was just wondering, you were saying 3.8, not 38 million, right?
$38 million for the whole project.
38 million. Weren't we originally looking at something like up to 5 million?
6.
So, the project is in parts and pieces. So the library portion itself is the $14 million. And then the community center and the park is the balance of it. So I'm not real clear about what costs were originally considered, but with this is estimates that have been put together by the architect and engineers and their estimators and shared with the Board of County Commissioners.
And would you mind saying again where that money is coming from? Because originally I thought the capital budget had about 5 million from North Clackamas Parks and Recreation.
Well, I'll just, I don't have a detailed understanding of where all the money's coming from. The work, the NCPRD actually owns the facility through, a development agreement. And they will be paying for their portion of it, which is their offices, the community center, and the parks development through NCPRD funds that come primarily through their assessments, NCPRD assessments. The library funds, money for the library is coming directly from county funds, and those are coming from a variety of different sources that the county has available.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any additional questions for Mark?
Some of the money is also coming up. Some of the money is also coming from the state, I believe.
And this is going to be a library and park, is that my understanding?
Yes, this will be a library that's part of a 2-library system, one here and one in Gladstone. The property, Concord School property, will be developed into a park, and the building will include a community center and offices for NCPRD.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks for that update, Mark. Let's see, next up we have Rich Nippon, who's going to give us the update about the CPO Summit.
I attended my first CPO Summit meeting, and as I was advised, it turns out that it's mostly smaller CPOs that are more rural than we are at Oak Grove CPO. And the big discussion that was had was about a vehicle registration fee that is a fee that's collected and used for planning and changing and improving roads in the area. And the big discussion was that the present head of the BCC, the county commissioners, had thought of it as a tax and wanted no new taxes and wants to lower taxes. And so is considering ending the vehicle registration fee with nothing suggested to replace it. So while this probably doesn't affect us as a CPO as much as it does the others, we do have the option as a CPO of writing an advisory letter to support or not support the idea. And my recommendation would be that we write a letter suggesting that without a replacement funding, that the vehicle registration fee should be left as is and used the way it has been used. That's pretty much my whole report. There was also discussion about a lot of the areas that don't have CPOs or have inactive CPOs for advisory for CPOs nearby to do the land use reviews that CPOs do for the county. There was discussion about liability, and I suggested, and I think it was understood, that being advisory CPOs doesn't require the county to do anything to accept or reject whatever we offer. And I personally don't see any reason why CPOs shouldn't be able to comment on basically anything that's going on in the county, but especially those areas neighboring them that don't have a voice that's active. But there wasn't any need for us to do anything particularly, though I do suggest that we at some point decide to write a letter. My recommendation would be to support the retention of the vehicle registration fee.
So is there a timeline for any kind of a decision on that, where we would want to make sure that we have a comment in to the Board of County Commissioners about that?
I didn't gather that there was a particular timeline. The CPO Summit people are in discussions on a pretty regular basis with the county administrator. I don't think waiting a month to bring it up at the next meeting and maybe, put something out about it to our membership would still work. I don't expect that there would be any action taken before then.
Okay.
Hey,
We might see if we can get someone from the county to give us some more information about that. Then we could present that at our next meeting, perhaps.
yeah, and this is Danielle Lohman.
Provide a little bit of
Oh, hi.
Hey, I don't know. I just sent you a message. I can't talk too much. I'm trying to get my toddler off my lap. She's sleeping, but if you can read those to the group.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So you're on the road fund committee.
I am, and I'm looking to see if there's. I just wanted to say I would encourage us to write the letter. I know the road fund committee. Some folks with the county had gone and spoke. I don't know if Paul Savas is on. I think they spoke to the commissioners about some of the projects that we're working on. And I have a prioritized list as of January, which was the last meeting, that I can send to you. So you can share with the group or however you want to write the letter. I don't want to really, but I would encourage it, just living in this area and on the committee. Because they worked really hard to prioritize this stuff. But there are some projects that are nearby that we could comment on. King Road, Johnson Creek Boulevard, not necessarily in our area exactly, but I see Sunnyside Road, not necessarily in our area, but would definitely impact us as maybe commuters. There's Webster.
Okay, yeah, if you could share, if you wanted to share that with us, I'd be happy to send that out to our mailing list.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Thanks for, yeah, if you send that to us, contact@oakgrovecpo.org. I'll make sure to get that out in our follow-up newsletter.
Yeah, I will send that now. And then I'll send separately.
great.
I don't know this, I wouldn't necessarily distribute this, but someone on the committee, I felt wrote a great email that had a lot of statistics on the level of funding currently versus the level of funding in, I don't know, something like the 60s, compared, adjusted for inflation. And I found that to be
very useful information, because if you look at the money like, oh, it's X millions of dollars, it sounds big. But if you're like, oh, you know, in 1960, I'm making the number up, it was, you know, a lot, adjusted for inflation, it was like 10 times more than they're dedicating it to it now. So I can send that over separately, you know, and do with that what you will. I thought that was an interesting email, well researched.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thanks for offering to do that, and I look forward to receiving that. Fred, I see you trying to get the floor, so go for it, Fred. Thanks, Daniel.
Point of information, Tootie made her motion to I believe send it out the vote to reject the fee. And it was and the county commissioners voted on it, and Tootie and Mark Scholl voted for it, and Paul Savas, Martha, and
Sonia
voted against it, so it failed. So it could come up again, and Tootie, but anyway, the motion, Tootie's motion to send the fee out, it was the motion was to send the fee out to reject it, basically, failed. It can come up again, but anyway, and I would make a second to Richard's motion that we do write the letter, because this was a major effort of the last board to get adequate or well, in fact, barely adequate funding for the county road system. Every street in Oak Grove is either a county road or a public easement where the county doesn't take any responsibility for it, except the state highways. So, and at least in my area, our streets are going to potholes.
Yeah, thanks for that information, Fred. I think that since I don't think we actually have a motion on the floor right now, my impression is that we'll kind of get this information together and see where it's going, and make sure that everyone knows how we can stay engaged on this as it moves forward in case things change. I also see that Commissioner Savas has his hand raised.
Yeah,
I'd like to give him the opportunity.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, at least for now, there's probably no urgency. This Tuesday, there was, I made a motion to do the public outreach. So therefore, in the event that there is a citizens initiative to repeal this, which we're afraid of, that we're doing the public outreach ASAP. All the reasons that you all stated that we ought to retain that, I have to agree. But we also need to do the public outreach. So that was the decision that Fred was referring to, was on March 2nd, and there's been discussions almost every week about it. And long explanation, I'm not going to get into it because it's take a lot of time, but I don't think there's an urgency to do that. And if we're going to move forward with the public outreach, there'll be opportunity to chime in. But I would definitely want to make sure that anyone who lives nearby some of the proposed projects that the committee worked on are there to advocate for it, and to bring the point home, as stated by others. This affects not just the county unincorporated, but also the city. So happy to be a resource for that discussion. But again, at this point, there's no urgency, and I think Fred cited the straw poll discussion that took place on March 2nd. So we're good to go, I think, for now.
Yeah, and just a final update. Sorry, and this is Danielle Lohman. I didn't announce myself last time. This is Danielle Lohman. So the last update I have from Ellen Roglin, and then on some article that she sent from Pamplin News. Gary Schmidt, County Minister Gary Schmidt will set up a full policy session for the board to learn more about funding for the county's transportation efforts and strategize with staff on how to complete public outreach. So, you know, Paul, same thing that you said essentially. And I haven't heard anything more on that from Ellen. It's been about 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's accurate. I think the twist and turn is really the public outreach. There was resistance to that on Tuesday. And the votes were, it was 3-2 to do the public outreach. And that was myself, Commissioner Schrader, and Commissioner Schull that voted for it. And so whatever that means, I'm not sure for why the no votes, but some may want to read into that.
Thanks for that added detail, Commissioner Status. We appreciate that. So thanks, Richard, for that update on CPO Summit. I think we're going to move forward because we're now past our wrap-up time, and I'd like to get a couple more of these committee updates out there. So thanks, Rich. Next up is Anada with an update from the North Clackamas Parks and Rec District.
Hi, everybody.
Anada, are you here?
Yeah, I'm
there
here.
You go.
Can you hear me? And
yes.
Contrary to the spelling of my name, it's Anita, but I don't expect anybody to remember that. So don't worry about it. But anyway, I'd like to announce a public meeting about our parks on April 6th at 7 p.m. by Zoom. And at this moment in the unincorporated areas of North Clackamas Parks, we've kind of crossed a threshold. Historically, we've had about 2 to 4 members out of 9 on the District Advisory Committee, or DAC, that NCPRD relies on for recommendations about parks and recreation matters. And now we're going to have 8 out of 11 places on the DAC. And these people will be chosen by you instead of by county staff. So that's another big change. So what we have now is a kind of use it or lose it moment. And to prove that we can make a community-led approach work, we need active community involvement. And sometimes I look at Milwaukee with their robust community involvement and see how much they've developed their parks and have a lot of parks activity and vision and many pocket parks and bigger parks. And I think with everybody's help, we can do the same thing here in the unincorporated areas, which are parks deficient at this time. So please come to the Zoom meeting on April 6th at 7 p.m. And you need to pre-register at ncprd.com/district-advisory-committee. So I'll put that in the chat. And when you come to the meeting, bring your thoughts about what you want our parks to be, and also come and find out if you want to run to be on the DAC yourself. So I'll put 2 things in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll definitely put that into our follow-up email newsletter as well. So go ahead and send that over to Valerie and she can put it in the chat for everybody. Thank you. Up next, we've got, I just wanted to ask Valerie really quick if we have an update about the Park Avenue community project.
No, I think the only update is that we're working on, they're working to have another community meeting. So there was a meeting with Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Schrader and some of the business community. And they have some other ideas and some concerns about the project as the community came up with it. And so now the next step is that they would like to have a meeting that involves community members with all of the commissioners. So a couple of dates were thrown out, but we're sort of negotiating about date and time right now because the original times that were suggested were not times that were off of business hours. And as a chair of the Park Avenue project, that's, my strong suggestion is we do just exactly what we did with outreach to the neighborhood and the community about the Park Avenue project. And that is to have meetings that are at times that people who work and live in the area are able to be there. So during the afternoon workday is not really a great time. So I haven't heard back yet. The 2 days that were thrown out were April 21st and the 28th of April. The 28th is our OGCC meeting, so I'm hoping we avoid that. If it's on the 21st, we're hoping it's late enough that we can actually come, so that people can be there. So what we will do is, as soon as we know a date and time, we will get that information out to people. And in particular, it will be really important for people who live or work in the area to be participants. So I just want to put that out there. So that's the update.
All right, thanks, Valerie. We've certainly, as a community, have invested a lot in that project up to this point, and it'd be nice to see that be able to move forward. So just really quickly, before we wrap up, here are the current recruitments for Clackamas County's advisory boards and committees. You can see the different committee names and the due dates to apply for those, and also the website, which I know that's a little odd, but it's accurate. It's web3.clackamas.us/ABC. And we'll put these links to these in our follow-up newsletter as well. And so with that, I'll open the floor for announcements. Is there any announcements? Commissioner Savas.
Yes, probably most of you were aware of the Oglo Bridge project. I have been requested to advise or inquire as to what the status is of the community on this side of the river may be. As you may recall, members of the council and Joseph in particular, you and I exchanged a couple emails about that. At the time, what we were trying to do is get guidance from the council and the surrounding community of the Oak Grove Jennings Lodge area. And I know that I stood up in front of the folks at Rose Villa one evening about that. So apparently there's an inquiry as to, is there interest, and if there is, what would it look like, or what would the parameters be or not be, what are the concerns? And I explained that that was something I was trying to tease out of the community council. So just want to just say that or ask that. I mean, it's not necessarily a long discussion, but I just want to plant the seed that there is an inquiry. Should we be moving forward with that? Because there's been a change in the governance on the other side of the river in Lake Oswego. And I know that there were certain aspects of this project that most of the community council that night put their hand up, not in favor of this. So I remember that distinctly. And I guess my question would be, at some point in time, if there was interest in it, what would it look like and where would it be or not be? I know it's a touchy subject, again, because the last meeting I stood up, there was substantial disagreement with making the project go forward. And just want to lay that out there, and not necessarily looking for an answer tonight, but think about it. Thank you. Happy to take.
Okay, yeah, thanks for bringing that up, and we'll certainly see how we can make sure everyone knows how to get engaged on that, and make sure that we're able to give you that advisement about how the project should move forward at this point. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
I just want to clarify, there is no project. It's really, the question is, should there be? Is there any interest, or do you all consider it? Is there any interest at all in seeing it be considered, and what would it look like if you did? That's really something to ponder.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, and we'll figure out how we can make sure everyone knows how to get engaged on that. Are there any other announcements from the floor before we move on? Okay, great. So our upcoming meetings, as you can see, next meeting will be April 28th and then May 26th. So we'll, that's pretty much our show for tonight. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate having you, and we'll see you next month. And if you'd like to stick around, we are going to have the social hour that we've been having after the end of these meetings for the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. So if you feel like sticking around,